Join me right now is XMMA bantamweight Cody Gibson. Cody, thank you for the time, man. You got the beautiful background. How's life treating you?
Life is good, you know. The next couple of weeks will be a little dicey, but just trying to get down the weight and all that. But it's never my favorite time of fight camp. But overall, I'm pretty happy.
I wanted to rewind first back to the end of 2018, after your last fight, the last time you competed, and just take us into those months and where your mind was at.
Yeah, I was hoping to get busy and stay busy. So I had a fight for the LFA in 2018, September of 2018. Ended up being the main event against a tough Brazilian prospect. And I was able to get the win, and I was hoping to ride that momentum into late 2018 or 2019. And I ended up signing with PFL. I was going to go up to featherweight and fight in their tournament in 2019. And I was going to fight in New York, and I tore my bicep in training and had to withdraw from that fight. And then did some physical therapy, came back from that injury, and thought, okay, well, I'll fight in late 2019. And then I tore my shoulder, tore 2 places in my labrum in my shoulder, and I had to have surgery again. And that was about 6 months of rehab and physical therapy. So that brought me to 2020, and so by the time I got healthy, and that's when COVID hit, and then everything went to hell. So it's been a rough couple of years. I've been out of the cage, not by choice, but I'm happy to be signed a contract, and God willing, step in there in a couple of weeks.
Definitely, man. Let's go through that 2019. The injuries that you sustained and the surgery. Did you get surgeries for both, or were you able to, combat that and not go through the knife?
No, I had to have surgeries on both. The bicep was the first one, and it was just a freak. I was just sparring and had an underhook and shrugged my cousin off me, and something felt funny, and then I finished the round, but it felt I couldn't punch with my left hand, and it felt something funny, and then I looked down, and my bicep was no longer there. It was hanging down. So those are pretty gnarly injuries. They look pretty gruesome. And then the shoulder, I was just driving, and felt a sharp pain in my shoulder. My hand was on the wheel and just felt a sharp pain, and just started having trouble lifting my left same side arm. And it was bad enough to where I was like, I can't train. And so I went to the doctor, and I had 2 tears in my labrum. So yeah, there wasn't really any option. It was surgery or bust. So that was a rough year, to say the least.
So when you going through all of that, and then you end up in 2020, you're still in most likely recovery, because shoulder recovery takes a little bit of time, right? And then the pandemic hits, man. You're just like, man, nothing is going my way at all, man. Is that what you were thinking at that time?
Yeah, when the pandemic hit, I mean, obviously everybody was struggling in their own ways, but I definitely thought about that. Like, I haven't fought in over a year, and now it looks like I'm not going to be fighting. I'm in California, so things shut down pretty extensively, and it didn't look like I was going to be fighting at all in 2020. So, yeah, I mean, those are the trials and tribulations that make us, I mean, you could look at it and feel sorry for yourself, or you could look at it and try to build from it and try to improve and, control what you can control. Some of those things, all of those things that we just talked about are out of my control. I can't control them, and it's just how you respond to them, how you react to them that matters.
The PFL deal. Why didn't you fight this season?
They offered for me to fight this season, but I really prefer to fight at 135 pounds. I've never missed the weight. I fought at both 135. I fought at 170, 155, 145, and 135. But most of my career has been at 135. And So this time around, I just didn't, I think back in 2000, I guess I would have been 2019. I was just having trouble finding fights, and so it was obviously there were some big names in that tournament, and so we took it, but it wasn't really something. I look at guys like Lance Palmer, and I'm like, some of those guys are massive, and I'm a big bantamweight, but I wouldn't have been a big featherweight comparatively to those guys. So this time around, I just said, you know what, I'm going to fight at the weight class that I really want to fight at and, want to make another run at. So decided to turn it down this time around.
All right, so training in 2021, man, where have you been working? How has it been going for yourself?
I actually moved from the Central Valley of California to the Central Coast in August of last year. And so now I had been at the same gyms in Visalia, which is where I had lived for most of my career, and made a change. And so I'm at the Pit now, which any old school MMA fan knows the Pit. And it's still an old school MMA gym. John Hackelman I don't think he's changed much. But it has a lot of young killers, and it's not like a Jackson's or a TriStar. Some of these bigger gyms, it's not huge. It's a small, tight-knit team, but, guys like Antonio Benuelos is kind of one of the head coaches as well. And, I've just been able to kind of pick their brains and learn from them. And first time in my career I've really been in an MMA gym. Most of my career in a small town like Visalia, I went to a jiu-jitsu gym that was very sport jiu-jitsu oriented. All the guys competed at the IBJJF tournaments and very big into sport jiu-jitsu, which is cool and everything, but you add in that wrinkle, that extra element of getting punched in the face while you're on the ground. A lot of that stuff, some of that stuff at least, just doesn't work, and I want to focus on things that you can do in a cage, and I trained a lot in a gi for many years, and I like sport jiu-jitsu, and I competed a lot, but now everything I do is geared around mixed martial arts, and so it's my first time really being around a big group of fighters, like-minded people, and everything I do is geared around fighting and how it applies. So, whereas I went to a jiu-jitsu gym and I really immersed myself in the boxing community in the Central Valley, a big Hispanic community, and so there's a big boxing culture there, which I think was beneficial because I think it gave me better boxing than a lot of MMA fighters because I was just boxing all the time. So I had to adapt because I was getting beat up, and but I think this has been a good move for me. The Pit's really, I was a little bit unsure of how they were going to be with me. Like, are they going to welcome me? They're very tight knit. Like, you can't just come into the gym and train with them. Like, you've got to, they've got to invite you in, and they've been really great with me. I think they've recognized that I could, be an asset to them as far as some of the younger fighters and helping them. And I've learned a lot since I've been here in just a year. So, yeah, it's been a really good combination of things.
Man, it says a lot about you and how far you have come, kind of on your own without a full-blown MMA gym, backing you. Now you have one. Where do you see the differences in yourself training there?
Just little things, just mixing it up together. Like the stuff I'm learning from guys like Antonio and a guy by the name of Justin Frazier's our jiu-jitsu coach. It's how we mix it together, how we mix the striking with the wrestling, how we mix even the jiu-jitsu and the ground and pound, and instead of, it's kind of, I've learned a lot. Like, I'm a veteran of the sport. I've been around for a long time, had a lot of fights, but I'm still very open-minded, and like I know there's always stuff to learn, and so I'm still a student of the game, and just how to kind of mix it all together better, I think, has been the biggest thing for me. And then just little things, working on little things, especially a lot of cage work. I learned a lot about cage work since I've been here. I kept getting, when I first came here, I kept getting my face grinded into the cage. Like I would have a guy pressed into the cage, and he would make a slight movement, and I would go head first into the cage. And so I was like, why does this keep happening? I have to learn to not have that happen. And another thing is I want to be able to do that to other people.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot about just little angles and stuff from the cage and pressure on the cage and things like that, and just generally how to mix things together a little bit better.
For sure. Now, your original opponent was John Dodson, and when people saw this matchup come up online, they were like, oh shit, like this is a good damn matchup right here. But then, John got into that accident. Did you find out just like everybody else online?
No, I had Antonio Benuelos was texting me, hey, I heard John Dodson got in a car accident. I was like, what? And then my management was texting me with a new opponent, and it all kind of happened. I had multiple text messages coming in with different information, and then I started looking online myself and seeing it. But yeah, it was super unfortunate for him. I kind of reached out and just felt bad for him, and that's to me like, I mean, you've seen everything that's been going on with Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier, and kind of lines being crossed about family and things like that. Like this. This is a game that we play and it's serious. We're trying to hurt each other, and I get all that, and that's how I approach it. It's a fight, but I also know that most of these guys, like especially like guys like John Dodson and myself, we're family men. Like we've got kids and a wife, and that's the most important thing. And so like when I heard about what happened to him, and I saw the pictures of the car, and I was like, man, that's like my worst nightmare, to have my whole family like that in a car. So all the best to him. I'm glad they all survived and are recovering, and they've got a GoFundMe account and stuff like that. And I'm going to give a percentage of my purse to them. Not that, and I wish I can give more, but as much as I can. And maybe one day down the road, if I told them, we talked a little bit afterwards, if the stars align right, I'd love to run it back and be able to fight them. I was really excited about the matchup. But now I got a new, young, tough kid in front of me, so maybe not the same name recognition, but definitely a guy that's skilled. So
Definitely, you got this prospect from Canada, Louie Sanoudakis. Now with him, he's had international experience. He's been all over the place with Brave and even with Pancrase over in Japan. So he is a test. But seems like you are transforming yourself, man. So we have no idea what we can expect out of you, right?
No, yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be a different fighter. It's been 2 years, and I've got all new trainers and all new teammates, and I've learned so much different stuff that I'm trying to, I think as a fighter, you want to learn new things and apply new things, but at the same time, stay true to yourself and who you are as a fighter and how you fight. But I definitely think that you'll see some new wrinkles to my game, and yeah, he's a tough dude, he looks black belt in jiu-jitsu, really good on the ground, and his hands have come a long way. I watched some of the earlier fights, and he looks like pretty much a grappler. And then you watch some of his later fights, and he's starting to put it together on the feet as well. So, and the thing about Dodson was like he's such a specific type of fighter. Like the things that John Dodson does, he's been doing for 15 years, and so it was probably more so ever than in my career, like training specifically, watching a lot of footage, doing a lot of slow motion. What does he do to get in this position, this angle that he creates? He darts from that southpaw stance and throws 5 left hands in a row. And so how do we beat that? And it was like a puzzle to me that I was trying to figure out. And I thought we had a good strategy for beating it, and giving myself a good opportunity in there with them. But Louie's a southpaw. He's not the same as John, obviously, but so at least I didn't have to switch that up. At least I'm fighting another southpaw, so I was able to still apply some of that stuff. But definitely a different fighter, but yeah, definitely dangerous for sure.
For yourself, what is the plans, after this? Of course, you want to get this out the way, get a win, but then what do you expect, and kind of do you feel like this will be your second leg of the career right here?
Yeah, I think for me, more than anything, it's just about getting active and staying active. I mean, since I left the UFC, I've won 4 out of 5 fights, and all 4 of my fights at bantamweight I've won. I lost 1 fight at featherweight, and they've all been against tough guys, like good records, good prospects. So I haven't taken any easy fights. So I think my biggest kind of crutch has been my inactivity, whether it be from the surgeries, COVID. I even took some time off after I lost at featherweight. I thought I might be done doing it and took a full year off, and then came back in 2018. And so for me, I don't want to think too far ahead. I just want to get active. I want to go in and have a good performance in a couple weeks, and then find somewhere else to fight. It's kind of tricky because the regional scene, you have a lot of young, talented kids, but it's hard to find fights when you have as many fights as I have and the experience that I have. And so, I'm open to signing with anybody, fighting anywhere. I just want to get active and stay active and get another fight this year and move into 2022 kind of with some momentum built.
Lately, there's a lot of talk about ring rust, but in your last fight, you came back after over a year. This time, it's a much longer layoff. What do you think is the best, remedy for ring rust, if there is such a thing?
I don't know. I don't know if I definitely think that there's advantages to staying active. Like there's advantages and being familiar with the entire experience of fighting in a cage in front of people that you can't really replicate in the gym. For me, it's a lot of just visualizing, like, remember what it feels like, remember the nerves that you feel, remember the weigh-ins, remember, stepping in the cage and going through the fingernail check, the mouthpiece, the cup, and stepping in there, announcing your name, the canvas, the smell, the feeling, and just trying to kind of visualize and reminisce on some of that and prepare myself for it, because I think there are advantages. I don't know if I don't believe in ring rust necessarily, but I think I would say that there are advantages to staying active, and I won't have that advantage because it's been a little while, but I'm trying to remember what it's like the best I can.
For sure, man. Well, you're stepping back, man. July 30th, XMMA 2. Thank you so much, Cody, man, for the time, and good luck, man. And I do hope you get more active. I hope guys would just call out the vets, man, the young guys coming up. I don't see that happening too much on the regional scene.
It's tough, like some of these. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was coming up and I wanted to fight the UFC vets, because I knew they had a name, and if I could beat them, that would put me, would catapult me.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it's the fighters necessarily. Nobody's really like outwardly ducked me, but the promotions, them too. Like, I'm not calling out LLFA, but like they're not super like receptive to me because I'm not 22, and I don't think that's really their business model. Which, that's their rights, their business. They run it the way they want to run it. But I think for guys like me, that's why I'm fortunate that promotions like XMMA exist, and giving us opportunities to continue to fight while we can. And for me, it's proven that I'm still, I feel like I could still definitely compete at the highest level. So I'm excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, man. Hopefully, maybe when 2022 is just around the corner, the world opens up a little bit more. You go international, man. Why not, right?
Hey, I'd love to. I always thought that using fighting as a vehicle for travel was a good idea to me.